Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lizzie, and for today's video, we are stepping away from the horror universe, and we are going to be talking about another universe that I love, which is the Marvel/Spider-Man universe. So if you are new to my channel, and you are unaware, aside from being obsessed with everything Scream and Ghostface, I am also obsessed with Spider-Man as well. If you're not new to my channel, then you're already aware of that. If you are just here for the Spider-Man content, welcome. If you also happen to be a horror fan, feel free to check out some of my other videos. So this is actually a video idea that was suggested to me by one of you. I don't remember exactly who it was off the top of my head, so I will leave the comment and the title of the video that it was left on, as well as probably a link in the description to that video. But we are going to be rating all of the Spider-Man films today. So I am basically just going with any of the films from Tobey Maguire's forward. Anything earlier than that I'm not really going to focus on because I may or may not have seen it. So we are going to be talking about Tobey Maguire's, Andrew Garfield, and the current Spider-Man, Tom Holland. And of course, the Spider-Verse will be thrown in there too. This is just my own personal opinion. This is just my own list. I'm not saying that any of these films are necessarily better than anyone. So I know that some of these on the list are not great, and if I was going off of them being better, they may be in a different order, but this is just the order of which I like them. I am not a film expert. This is just my opinion, so just keep that in mind. It's just an opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my list, and feel free to leave your list of your favorites in the comments below, as well as any that you think that I should check out that are not on this list. So let's go ahead and just get into it. There are 8 films, so starting with the 8th film, and these are going to be in order from least favorite to favorite, so, because it's a rating, duh. But at the 8th place is The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield, obviously the sequel to his first one, and though I do actually really like Andrew Garfield and I liked him as Peter Parker, he was different, not perfect, but I did really like his role in the first one. I just did not jam with the second one. I think a lot of people will probably agree with me on that. This movie didn't do very well, didn't get a lot of love when it came out. And it was just unfortunately a really disappointing sequel, which is why it's at the bottom of the list, technically. And then into the 7th place is the 2002 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the first one. Don't get me wrong, it's a good first film. There's definitely some plot holes, there's definitely this entire franchise just kind of does its own thing away from the comic books a bit, but that's okay. I like this film. I like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I just don't think it's the best. I think it was a good first film. I just prefer other ones more. So speaking of, into the 3rd spot is Spider-Man 2. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. It was a fantastic sequel. I think it did really well as a sequel. I think a lot of people like it as a sequel. From a lot of what I've read, it's preferred to the first one, which it was for me. And I just think it's generally a superior film to the second one. I think the characters, Peter Parker's definitely more developed. I think all the characters are definitely more developed, and the story plot within this film is definitely better as well, which is why I think a lot of people were very much disappointed by the 3rd film. But as you noticed, I haven't mentioned that because it is actually taking the 5th place on this list. And as I actually do like Spider-Man 3, I know it is not a cinematic masterpiece. It really trails off. I know a lot of people don't like Topher Grace's version of Venom. It's definitely pretty cheesy, but as you can see, I have the poster for Spider-Man 3 behind me. I love this film. I can't help myself. I rewatch it quite frequently. I know, again, I admit it is not a great masterpiece of a film, but I just really enjoy it. I think it's a fun time. I like Topher Grace. I like the fact that you have these two actors, Topher Grace and Tobey Maguire, who were kind of often compared to each other look-wise as well. And so when you have this Venom and Spider-Man versus each other, having two actors that very much look similar, I think was a really good idea. Obviously, they dyed Topher Grace's hair blonde. I think it would have been kind of cool if he was left as a brunette. That's just my opinion. But I still find this film really enjoyable, even if it's not a great cinematic masterpiece. I don't care. I still really like it. And on to the fourth place spot is Spider-Man Far From Home. So I do have a Spider-Man Far From Home poster. I did enjoy this film, don't get me wrong. I think that Tom Holland is the perfect Peter Parker. I think he does such a good job. I mean, it definitely helps that it is actually focused within the MCU. The other films technically are not. And that definitely helps. But I wasn't lovely obsessed with Far From Home, which is very disappointing because I also love Jake Gyllenhaal, and of course he's in this. And everybody did a great job. I just wasn't obsessed with it. I think it's a good film. It's still in my top 4 on the list. It's just not my number 1. But I still love the poster, which I think is really cool. And then into the third spot is The Amazing Spider-Man. In my third place spot is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is obviously Andrew Garfield's, the first. Sadly, we only got 2 films of him. But I love this film. I think that he did a really good job. I think the downfall with this film is the fact that they kind of are continually along the same plot as Tobey's. They kind of, we went over all of Peter Parker's backstory again with this film. And I think, obviously when they announced that there was going to be even more Spider-Man films with Tom Holland, a lot of people were like, okay, are we going to have to see Uncle Ben die again? Which we will talk about. But so I think that may have been a bit of a downfall with this one, but I still really like this film. I own this one, and I think, like I said, I think Andrew Garfield did a really good job. I believe it was Kevin Smith, however, because he did a video rating like every appearance of Spider-Man, which if you have the time, I highly suggest checking that out. I'll try to remember to leave a link, but he talked about the fact that he does a really good job as Spider-Man, being very sassy, tongue-in-cheek, but he's not a great Peter Parker because he's not quite nerdy enough. And obviously, I think he was already in his 30s by the time that he was filming this, so him being 30, trying to play a high schooler was also a little off, but I still love the film. I still think it's really good. And for my second place pick is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is the only animated one that I included on the list, but I could not. I fucking love this film. As much as I'm surrounded by just simple Peter Parker stuff, I also love Spider-Gwen. I have a Spider-Gwen hoodie I have a Spider-Gwen vest hoodie thing as well. I have some Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen pops. I have a Spider-Gwen cup somewhere. I love her. When she was finally going to be in a film, I was so excited. I hope that we someday get Gwen Stacy, a good Gwen Stacy in a live action film. I mean, Emma Stone said that she would gladly play Gwen Stacy in a film, so I loved her as MJ in The Amazing Spider-Man, and I think she could do a great Gwen Stacy. Anyway, I was super excited to see that they were going to, and obviously Miles as well, but they were going to be bringing more Spider-Mans, and I love that film. I went and saw it in theaters, and it was just so good, and it's such a good comfort film. If you haven't watched it for whatever reason, I do know that it is available to watch on Amazon, or on Netflix in the US. I don't know about anywhere else, but I love that film. It's just a good comfort film, and that's why it's second on my list, because I could rewatch it a million times, and I have to do so after this. And in my number one spot is Spider-Man Homecoming. Also a poster for that back here. I love this film. Like I said, I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he is amazing. I didn't talk about wasn't planning on talking about his appearances in any of the Avengers films. I was going to include these on here because they're not Spider-Man specific films, but I think his intro in Civil War is just one of the best intros of a character. When you see that title card pop up and the music starts playing, and I was in the theater so excited. Everybody around me was so excited. We all were like, and just his introduction in that film is so good. I think he really is like the perfect combination. He really does such a great combination of being the perfect Peter Parker as well as the perfect Spider-Man, because when Peter Parker puts on that suit, he does change a bit. He gets more confidence when he has the Spider-Man suit on, and I think Tom Holland does a perfect job of representing that, as well as being a bit more age appropriate. I mean, he's still in his 20s, but he's young enough and still looks young enough that he's able to pull it off. And I'm excited. Hopefully we're gonna get a third one. Hopefully we'll see what happens next. I'm really excited to hopefully see him continue. So there you guys go. That is me rating the Spider-Man films. Again, this is just my opinion, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Again, feel free to leave your favorites in the comments below if you want to rate them all. And again, leave me any recommendations for any shows or animated movies or whatever else that you think that I should check out. I hope that you guys did enjoy this. If you did, please do it a big old thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys again next week with another video. Bye!